Thank you to Sagia Campaigns and to you, Joel, for this opportunity. Um, well, my name is Tamara Adrian, although that's not my name. I been struggling for almost 15, 16 years now before the Supreme Tribunal of Justice of Venezuela in order to get my identity duly recognized. Venezuela was one of these countries in which until 1998, the identity of trans people was recognized. Although when Chavez arrived to the power, the judges were removed and new judges that were only selected because their affiliation to the political party were appointed as judges. And since then, no single person has been recognized with the legal identity. And during my transition, I was able to see how often people are discriminated and excluded just because their identities do not match to their legal identities, and they are deprived to the right to study, to the right to have a proper job, to the right to just have a house or get into a hotel or even to transit in and take an airplane or take a bus. And that is why we have been struggling so much, and we have been organizing these campaigns in order to convince the social system, the socialist system of Venezuela, that they are in a huge contradiction, saying that they are socialists and at the same time they are denying the identity of trans people. And that is the way we are acting now in order to get the support and in order to act and get the approval of this law that will allow people to get their identity legally recognized. And that's where I want you to join us. That's an example of how it works. Storytelling or a call of action. Call to action. And that's exactly the tools that I learned in Harvard University, where you put yourself, you put the struggle, you point out the struggle, and then you encompass, you call to the motivation, the sensitive motivation of people, and then you call to action. And coming to your film, to the film about myself, it's a fiction, and well, the director just passed away 2 weeks ago, Elia Schneider. But when she came to me back in 2010 or 9, and then she told me, listen, I think your story must be told. And I told her, yes, let's go, because that's a kind of activism, and then we call for action to people. And we started to work. We had 170 scripts, different scripts, some with minor changes, some with huge changes. And it came from a biopic to a fiction movie. And at the end, it was a structure following the main paths of storytelling as described by Joseph Campbell, what is called the hero's journey.
So, Tamara, before we move on to this, can you just tell us a little bit about the plot of the movie? Because then I want us to watch the trailer, and then we'll come back to you and you tell us about the hero story, and then we will also show the hero story diagram that you've sent us. So just like a couple of sentences on. So it's a fiction, but it is obviously inspired from your life. So what's the the three main elements of the plot?
The three main elements are the following. Every single trans person fights against himself or herself in order to accept who you are, then gets into this land of unknown, where he or she fights against all the people and against himself or herself in order to transit and transform himself or herself. And then there is a moment when there is a rebirth, and we are able to come back. Not all, because some people are dying in the middle. Some people are just left behind because of who they are, and that's why we have to show this. And then there is a moment of return to the world and change the world. And this is the path of the movie, and that's how it was conceived and actually filmed.
Okay, thanks, Tamara. So let's watch the trailer. And then again, maybe you will be able to provide us with a link in due time where we can actually watch this film, because it is available on streaming, on video on demand. So Stefan, thank you.
Floor.
Yo lo que veo es a un señor vestido de traje y corbata, que es padre de familia, que se comporta y se viste como un hombre. No está bien. Vive tu vida.
¿Me llevas?
Sube.
El profesor Almanza ha logrado dividir a sus alumnos, ponerlos a pelear, regodeándose egocéntricamente en eso de demostrarse como es.
¿Me va a ayudar con esto, sí o no?
So Tamara, I wanted, before maybe we move on to the hero's journey that you will show us, I just wanted to ask you again. So now we've seen the trailer. I think it's very clear. We have this internal fight and then external fight, and then we have a rebirth and a transformation. How do you think people in Venezuela are relating to this story? Is it something that is very specific to trans people, or do you think there's something that can go beyond and can go into people's own lives? And what are the kind of stories that the kind of other stories that you tell beyond yours?
Thank you very much for this question, Joel, because it's very important to tell that this film was actually a blockbuster. It was in the screen for more than 6 months. During this 6 months, it was the Venezuelan film most seen in Venezuela during 2016 and early 2017. And then you see that this story also relates to everyone. It's not confined or circumscribed to the sole situation of trans people, because when you relate a story that it's a universal story, then everyone can relate to this story and feel compelled to act and to understand. Listen, a long time ago, maybe some time ago, I found a person in the street, and there was a woman, some 50-some years old, and she stopped me and she told me, listen, you are Tamara Adrian, thank you very much. I wanted so much to know you. Listen, I'm gonna tell you that how much I owe you, and that I start to think, and that's a bias that we all have, that she was a lesbian woman and that she came out of the closet. That's a story I started to imagine in my mind, and because of my implicit bias. And then she told me, listen, for 25 years I was married, and my husband beaten me, and I decided after seeing your film that I was going to leave him and start my life alone. And I owe you that. And then I understood that this single story that doesn't relate to anything else than the trans person can be also compelling for other people in order to change their minds. And that's the most important thing of a storytelling, how to address the heart of people, and beyond the problem of LGBTI people, address things that are universal and struggles that might affect anyone.
Thanks, Tamara. I think it's indeed very powerful to talk about this relatability, that a story can only be convincing if people can relate it to their own lives. And this is one quote which I really like by somebody, I can't really remember who it is, but it says, I'm telling stories, let me find this, I'm writing my story so that others might see fragments of themselves. And I think that's a very important part of storytelling, that you never only tell your story, you're telling other people's stories via your own. And I think that's when you probably hit people's hearts and minds, is when they know that you're talking about them as well. So thanks. Tamara, because of the sake of time, I'm not sure we're gonna do the hero's journey in detail now. I wanna, also give the floor to Misha. And Misha, you have sent us something quite intriguing. So please tell us a bit more about what you have sent us and why you have chosen this particular video, which is very intriguing, very nice. And tell us more about it.